So if you haven't tried it, give it a try. And then there are things that have been AI we just didn't know, beyond Siri and Alexa. Grammarly. I used Grammarly. It saved my bacon for my dissertation. It never dawned on me it was AI, even though it was. Zoom now has AI note-taking, which is really handy. ISPI has, if you haven't gone onto the site, there is an AI page on the site where you go in and you type your prompt, and it will go through and it will search all of the materials that's on the AI site for you and bring up the response. It searches through the journals. It's pretty neat. You can ask it a question similar to something like, what's a good way that I can conduct analysis for whatever XYZ group? And it'll go through and it will just bring up all those articles for you. It's not AI to the extent that it'll say, we recommend you do this analysis, and here's an idea of how you could do it. So it's not at that level yet, but it's still pretty neat that they have it. Okay. Any of you guys go to the prompting class with Dr. Hale? Or are you familiar? How familiar are you with creating prompts? Because if you're very familiar, I'm just going to run through it. Okay. So 0 shot, that's just your prompt saying, hey, do something for me. Write a short positive movie review. Okay? You can also do a 1 shot. That's where you give the AI an example. Write a movie review for me, and here's an example of something that I'm looking for. And it gave it an example of a book review. You can also do a few shot prompt, and that's where you give it 2 or 3 examples of this one. It says, here's a review of a book, and here's a review of a restaurant. And so the reason you do that is because it'll help you to fine-tune what the AI is going to say to you. You can get to the same place from a 0 shot prompt. It'll just take you more interaction. So you'll have to have more conversation with it. If you can be more specific up front, you'll get a better result initially. Now, there's also something called chain of thought, and that's probably what you'll use more often when you're working to do your career building skills. I actually use chain of thought prompt combined with like the 1 shot or a 2 shot more often when I'm using it. I mean, I use it for translating minutes of work. I use it. So chain of thought is exactly what you think it would be. You are having a conversation. So this person, let's just say this is Tom, says, hey, AI, can you tell me about the movie Inception? Notice, even though it's a 0 shot, he's a little bit more specific. So AI says, sure, and gives him this entire little spiel about the movie Inception. So now he says, okay, I want you to write a short positive movie review about Inception. Very simplistic. If it were me, I would say, okay, wait a minute. I like your description, but I don't really want to know anything about the director. Can you give me a little bit more about the lead character or the plot line? And when I got it to the point to where I was ready to move forward, I would say, okay, write a short positive movie review. Then most likely you're going to have to say, all right, let's work on this a little bit more. Feel free to talk to it like it's a person. It helps me to interact a little bit better. I think I like Claude because I actually call it Claude. I don't know. It's weird. I know. I'm a little strange anyway. So now the AI is going to give a much better response than if he just said, write me a positive movie review about the movie Inception. So if we just assume that Tom has had a little bit more interaction with the AI between this first response and then the last response, you can see where it would come up with a better response for us. So that's called a chain of thought, conversation. Let's just work together and collaborate, which is, for me, that's the best thing about using generative AI, not as a replacement, but as a resource. And it really is helpful, especially, like for brainstorming. I work from home by myself most of the time. It never talks back to me. It is so, so cool. It thinks my ideas are great. So let's try it out. This one's going to be fun. I want you to email your boss, and I want you to tell your boss that you've lost their keys office keys, car keys, house keys, whatever, or anything. Reply in the style of Dr. Seuss. If Dr. Seuss is not your style, you can pick any other author. Just try to make it something fun. So go ahead and do that, and then if you want to share, we'll see. It's always fun. Everybody gets a different response to it. I will say I've done this in the style of Tolkien, and your response is very, very long. So if you do that, or do it in the style Hemingway is pretty long too, but go ahead and give that one a shot, or you can do the interview prep. You can either ask for questions for a Jedi apprentice position, or I don't know, any other position. Maybe you want to be Sheldon Cooper's assistant. That would be a great position to interview for.
I know all of your references.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm just going, oh yeah.
You know, it's... All right. If anybody has want to share any of the responses, just go ahead. So we're trying. Just shout it out.
I did that first prompt in the style of Yoda.
Oh goodness, that's a good one.
Dear boss, write to you with heavy heart I do. Inform you I must that the keys entrusted to me lost they are. Aware of the inconvenience this may cause I am. Searching tirelessly, I have been.
Oh man, I'm gonna have. That is great. Try not to laugh too hard because it'll mess up the mic here. Anybody else have anything?
The subject was pretty funny because it's a matter of urgency: lost keys, I have.
Amy.
So, well, if we all put in the exact same people and give all the same answer, which is it? We don't know. Okay.
We could try it.
It wrote a whole poem. Like I have a little, I have a whole.
You have a whole Dr. Seuss poem?
Same poem.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't get a subject. So it's interesting that it gave you a subject because I didn't get it, and I asked for an email, but it didn't give me that. It says, "In a land not too far, but a bit far, you see, a tiny dilemma has befallen me. Oh dear boss, I must confess, the keys you entrusted, I've made a mess. In a moment of hustle, a moment of haste, the keys disappeared without a trace. I've searched high, I've searched low, but alas, they've decided to go, and there are two more." Did I give you the same one? Absolutely not. Really?
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I must confess, a tale of woe I must address. I've lost the keys, I'm sad to say. They seem to have gone away. To my boss, I must write now, in a style that's truly quite a sight. Dear boss, I'm sorry to tell, I lost. The keys are lost, I wish them well. I've searched high, I've searched low, but they're vanished, where did they go? Perhaps the fox took them for a ride, or they're hiding where the fairies hide.
Oh my
I'll keep looking, I'll do my best to find those keys and end this quest. But until then, please understand, I'm truly sorry, keys in hand, yours sincerely with great regret. I hope this moment will soon forget. I'll be more careful from now on and ensure such mishaps are truly gone. I also asked them to do it in Cookie Monster, but that's just a personal thing.
That's too funny. So did you both use ChatGPT?
Yeah, I used
Paid or free version?
I guess free.
Free, okay. Have you used that before?
Yes.
So it has learned from you
For one thing.
for one thing. So that would be interesting to that's interesting that it gave you different responses. So I'm wondering, I don't know the answer, whether it learned because one of you hasn't used it and the other has. I don't know. That's interesting. So did anybody do an interview prep question? Anybody looking to be a Jedi?
I did one example. The question was, Jedi Knights are expected to uphold Jedi code and maintain strong moral compass. Can you provide an example of a situation where you're faced a moral dilemma and how you navigated it? So then it said, describe a scenario where you're confronted with a decision, test your integrity and adherence to your principles, discuss how you analyze the situation, consider potential consequences, ultimately made a choice that aligns with your values, yada, yada, yada. So,
That's really cool. That I had someone once before, they asked they did stay with the Star Wars theme, but they wanted to be on the dark side of the Force. So that was probably funnier than the Jedi apprentice position. Anybody else want to have anything want to share? Or
I've used it for that specific thing.
Yeah.
Jobs.
Yeah.
And I take notes when I'm interviewed, so I know what the questions were.
Mm-hmm.
I will go back in that same chat and say, here's the questions I was asked. I've been invited to a second interview, and then it will.
Hey, that's a
give me
smart
second
idea.
interview examples of questions, both situational. That one was situational,
Mm-hmm.
but it will also give other questions.
That's a good. I've got to make a note of that. That's a good idea. All right, so there are a lot of different ways that it can help. So I want to just narrow it down to a few of the most common strategies, which is going to be skill development. That can be hard, especially in our field. Performance improvement, even instructional design, isn't always well known. So trying to decide where you need to upskill can be challenging. Networking is another issue, and you can use the AI to help you with networking. Of course, job search is probably the one thing that we would all kind of jump on there, help us align our resume, help us with cover letters, those kind of things. And then interview preparation. So let's talk about skill development. AI is going to be able to help us to look at our skills and our experience, and then to recommend some paths to improve our learning. So this is Bob. Bob is going to have a conversation with our little AI. Says, hey, I'm a performance improvement professional. I got 12 years experience in these areas. I want to advance my career, and I want to take on some strategic roles in these areas: organizational development, change management. Analyze my skills and experience and identify the top 3 skill gaps I need to address to achieve my career goals. This is going to take a little bit of work, because you're going to have to put in, well, what are your skills and experience? You want to do just more than instructional design or training delivery. That's pretty vague. If you give it a very specific prompt, it will definitely bring back a good response and help you. But even with just this general prompt, that's what I put in, and this is what the AI gave me. Based on your experience, here are 3 gaps: change management, business acumen, and data analytics. Here's some things you could do. Consider pursuing things like Prosky or CCMP, enroll in some business courses, get your MBA. Now, I know this is a lot of text. There is a handout, and I apologize. I hate a lot of text on slides, but this kind of situation really calls for it. So if you can't see it, or you're trying to take a note, don't. I've got it all on the slides, the handout for you. This is really helpful. I was looking at a different position, and it was outside of the field that I currently work in. It was a little different. And I didn't necessarily ask it to give me ways to upskill. I wanted it to tell me if the experiences that I have matched the job that I was looking at, because the language is different. And it was so beneficial, and it did. The AI came back and said, yes, these things are the same. However, this is different. So then I had a conversation about it, which then was an upskilling thing. Well, how is it different? What can I do about that? How can I enhance my resume? You know, there's a lot of different things that you can really do. So why don't we try it out? Take this prompt. I am a blank. And you can give it as much detail as you want. Again, I don't expect you to list out all of your skills or experiences or anything like that. Maybe just pick one or so. Plug it in there and see what our little AI friend, if you've named your AI friend, that's fine. You can share that with all of us. It's easier sometimes. That's why I said I like Claude, because I'm like, hey, Claude, I need help creating minutes from this transcript. Can you help me?
Yeah, I did that with my chat GPT. Call it Conan.
Yeah.
Conan.
I'll give that one a shot, and let's see. And you can just tell it to do one skill gap. I mean, I put 3 up there, but it may be too long of a response. And feel free to be funny if you're, if you're looking for more strategic roles in being a Jedi Master. I don't know. And once you've got it, if you want to share a little bit of it, you can share the response. You can share, do you think it was accurate? Did it come close? Did it surprise you? I mean, anything. Like I said, we're all learning together. Anybody got a response yet?
So it's Grammarly on my iPhone doesn't have the AI. I was gonna try to use that because I don't have any of the others on here. That's kind of disappointing.
You want to use my tablet? I got ChatGPT. I got it open. I was going to show how you could use it conversationally, but you could feel free to use it. I even got a keyboard down there. There you go. Yeah, one of the cool things about the ChatGPT app on your smart device that I really like, there's a little headphone icon. And if you push that icon, it's not just like, when you use your phone and you talk to it to fill in instead of typing, it changes the screen completely and you're having a conversation back and forth. So in a minute when we get to the interview prep, I'll grab my tablet back from Steve and show you. It's pretty cool. If it actually had like a doll's head or something, it would be creepy to have it talking to you, but All right, anybody find anything surprising? No? Did everybody get at least a predictable response? Something that you thought that you might need? So the cool thing about it is once you have that response again, if you continue that chain of thought with the AI, then you can really dig down deep. You can ask it. So if you use like Microsoft Copilot, which is connected to the internet, I like it for this type of thing because then you could say, let's say it came up with using OneNote, because we were just having this conversation. You could say, could you recommend courses on LinkedIn Learning that would help me? Or on Microsoft, because they have a lot of free courses that would help me to upskill. And because it's connected to the internet, it would say, oh yeah, here's some courses and here's the web address. And you could go right to it. ChatGPT and Claude AI can't, they can only do that if it's something that was on the internet whenever they were synced. I don't know how often they sync with the internet. It's called Copilot. It was called Bing Copilot and Microsoft Copilot. I think it's just Copilot now, but it's Microsoft.
So,
Okay.
So, mine is corporate trainer in the voice of Billy Ball. All right, here's your sign to step up to your game. With your solid 17 years in trenches, let's zero in on one to bridge those gaps leading into those strategy-heavy roles. Business acumen, understanding the ins and outs of business ain't just the folks sitting upstairs. As you aim higher, you'll need to get comfy with how your training programs can drive business results in line with company goals. Dive deeper into financial metrics, market trends, and strategic planning, and on it goes. It's just really funny. It's just,
and in
his voice, it makes it funny.
You can use it. That's the cool thing about it. I like to have fun. I can ask it a real question. Like on Bluey says, in real life. It's a real life question. and I want a real life response, and then I can say, respond in the style of, and it's just hilarious. So I don't know. It makes it a little bit more fun, and I like that kind of thing. So entertaining. Oh, I have also some other resources I forget to mention on my website. It's just Lynn McBain article resources. That's on the app too. So if you don't have a chance to grab it, there's especially like a Google sheet that I have. It's a prompt library, and it's divided by tabs for the different types of prompts. I just keep adding to it. So there's some on there. Feel free to download it, use it. But if you just go back to the live version, as I get new things that work, I'll put them on there too. I mean, honestly, put yours on there as well. We'll just share. That's one of the easiest ways. Once you get a template, go with it. All right, so networking. Networking is really cool because it can help, again, Microsoft Copilot will be the better choice for this because it can suggest people for you to connect with, facilitate, help you know how to facilitate those introductions, give you conversation starters. So cool. That's the one I struggle with. And then help you to upgrade like your LinkedIn profile, your website profile, Facebook, whatever social media that you use. Now this is Jim. And Jim, he says, I'm a performance improvement professional. Similar story, similar backstory. I want to expand my network and connect with people in leadership development, employee engagement, and digital transformation. My goal, and he gives his goal, to stay updated on best practices, share knowledge, and find mentors or collaboration opportunities. Help me identify relevant people to connect with and provide suggestions on how to initiate conversations. So this is just an example scenario. But the AI said, connect with Jennifer Smith, and gave expertise, some shared interests, and conversation starters. Which this, if you're trying, if I have struggled with, say, I don't know, let's say I wanted to connect with Yvonne or George. Okay, they're this leader, and I'm not this leader. So how do I connect with them? How would I even know to connect with them and knowing where their expertise lies? Okay, so their expertise is in change management. I like that. What do we share in common? And there's the shared interest. The AI has done that for me. And how can I start a conversation with this person? Hey, well, why don't you talk about this? If it were a real person, it could give you even more targeted things. You could ask it to say, hey, tell me about shared interest, but maybe see if we have any hobbies in common, because that's always a good opening to get a conversation started with somebody. So, of course, you get a chance to try it out. Fill in, if you want to, try filling this in. Again, ChatGPT will work. Copilot will probably work a little bit better because it's connected to the internet. Add as much or as little detail as you want. This is just an idea, especially for finding networking connections and resources, which is very, very personal to each person. Basic goals, you want to tell the AI, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my goal, this is what I'm looking to get out of this relationship. And help me to find relevant opportunities, people that share the same interests. I mean, you could say whatever you want to, and then ask it to give you, help me, give me some conversation starters, or help me. I had somebody in a group that said, help me to compose a quick LinkedIn note to introduce myself to the person. That would be helpful. Then you wouldn't just have to say, hey, I'm Lynn and I'd like to connect. Boy, they're having a lot more fun than we are.
We're deep in thought, we're contemplative.
I know.
I'm having a ton of fun with this. But I did all kinds of other prompts.
I mean, you've got the handout, so if you want to make this as hilarious as you want, go for it. It's late in the day.
I'm so inspired. They made me laugh.
So, I was trying to think of a funny way to do it with, I don't know, with like Judy Hale.
No.
you know,
Yeah. Oh, that's quite a list.
it's quite a list. All right.
Professional associations, LinkedIn, online forums, journals, initiate conversations, personalizing your approach, offer value, ask for advice, proposal, collaborate. I mean, just details of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have the unfortunate case of using mine, and I've used it for a long time and talked, and so it's probably going to give you long-winded responses like me.
I was gonna ask that, so
It's doing that.
does it change the way because of how you prompt from other things? And I think you said it earlier, but it didn't click until both of us use ChatGPT. Because I'm always like, give me more.
Yeah, it learns.
Too. I mean, sometimes you want like a fresh slate.
If you want to start over, yeah. If you want to start over and you want to stay in that same thread, that conversation thread, you can just say, okay, let's start over. Forget everything that we've talked about. Yeah. You can, so another trick, this really isn't career building, but you can say, if you want to make sure that the AI doesn't just pop out the first response that it comes up with, at the end of your prompt, tell it, take it step by step. And it just triggers the AI to go back through and check all of its work, basically, before it gives you a response. I've done it before. I've gone back and said, thank you for the information, or something like that. Is there anything that you might have forgotten? And sometimes it'll say, oh, no, I think this is a pretty good comprehensive summary of this topic, or now that you mention it, this might be pertinent, or this might be of interest. You can correct it. I was trying to get it to help me to, I was trying to get to rework my education section because of the position I was looking to apply for. That was where the big sticky thing was how do you translate business or nonprofit experience into something that would work in academia. So I was going back and forth and going back and forth. And it gave me too long of a response. And I'm like, I really like this information and it's really great. And I want you to keep the essence of it. I don't want to lose that, but it's way too long. So I was using Claude, and Claude came back and said, oh, I think you're right. This is a little bit long for a resume. So it gave me another response. It was too short. It was like a one run-on sentence. Like, no, this is too short. Can you find a happy medium? And then, it came back. But it took us 3 pieces of that conversation before I could get to something that was actually close to what I wanted from it. So
That's happened before. And unfortunately, mine reset itself on its own. I didn't tell it to forget everything.
Oh, no.
So my cover letter, sometimes my cover letter, I want it to be 1 page, sometimes I want it to be 2, but I have 5 examples of my writing of cover letters that I did. And the first time I did it, it gave me this flowery language, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It sounded like me, I wouldn't even, if somebody gave me that, I wouldn't hire them. So I told it not to do that, and it took me a few times to refine it, and then it was nailing it. And then all of a sudden, it gave me something like it did the first time again.
No.
And it was like back to.
Did you give it a few choice words?
No, because I went back to make sure that I had attached my PDFs, and I reattached the PDFs and started again, but it wasn't.
It wasn't the same.
Once we refined
That's
it,
frustrating.
the first one was like this, you nailed it. It would never go back to where I nailed it. So I had to use its own example for itself.
For itself,
and
yeah.
It still didn't replicate itself.
So
I just lost it. But if it's only 1 page, I'll just write it myself. But if it's 2 pages or something else, so I'll put in my example, I'll put in my resume, and I'll put in the job specification from the job announcement, and then it pulls it together.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways that I've used it too, which I'll talk about that in just a second. But man, so one of the reasons I'll use Claude instead of ChatGPT is because ChatGPT tends to use big words or repeats a lot of, they are addicted to prepositional phrases. I think it's better, but it's still, and it doesn't seem to learn as quickly. So for things where like if I were trying to do cover letter, I would probably use that tool instead of the ChatGPT. However, they've just upgraded it. So, I mean, it's just a constant thing of which is going to work better. And they keep rolling out these improvements, which is really good because, you know, if you're using this as a tool to help you, not just with career building or anything like that, but with just your work, then an improved product is a much better product. All right. Oh, I got to get moving. Okay. So I gave it on my own ChatGPT, or I went on to Copilot, so it would pull from the internet, and gave it the same prompt, put in a couple of my details, and so it brought up John Keller as someone that I should connect with, which is really cool because John Keller is like a hero of mine and oodles of other people, and he was the keynote speaker for our chapter relaunch. So I actually got to talk to him, and man, he is a cool guy, and boy, would I love to get to know him better, but he's not on LinkedIn, so, you know, wouldn't work for me. So that's just a real world example of that one. Let's go on to job search. So for this, instead of focusing on going out and finding me a job, I want to talk about how you can use it to help you align what you have with the job. As you mentioned it just a moment ago, give the AI something like, give it your job description and give it your resume and help you to align it better. Because, you know, they use AI to screen resumes before it ever gets pushed onto a screening committee. So let's talk to, what's your name over there? I forgot. Jane, maybe? Very specific. I'm performance improvement professional. I recently acquired some skills in change management, business acumen, and data analytics. I'm transitioning to organizational development. Help me find some job opportunities. So this is going to be looking for some opportunities. You'll need to use one of the Perplexity AI is another one that's connected to the internet. It's not as good, I don't think, as Claude, which is why, or as Copilot, which is why I didn't really mention it. But so they go out on the internet and find some opportunities. This one I think I did in ChatGPT, so it's just examples. But you can see it gives you the same kind of response based on everything you've shared with me. These are some things that might work for you. Here's a consultant position. Here's a learning and development manager. Gives the key responsibilities, required skills, and this information will change based on what you ask it to give you. You could ask it to, you could ask it anything. You could say, you know, give me positions that are, maybe you're not trying to transition, but you want to get an advancement. You want to advance in your career. So find positions that would be an advancement in career and then explain to me how this would be. How would it be different than my job? Explain to me how I could convince the company in my cover letter that I would be a good fit for this position. I mean, it's just like everything else, there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. So this is a more advanced prompt, which is on the handout as well. It's still in the job search vein. This is one that I have used, and it works really well. It's very long. You plug in your own information. If you'll note here, so I've given the AI a role because I want it to be really, really specific in what it talks to me about. So I told AI, hey, Claude, you're an HR expert. You got 20 years of experience, so you know what you're doing. You know what makes a resume really stand out from the rest. So here's some information about a role I'm interested in. And notice I put job description in brackets. The reason I did that is because this is a long prompt and the content that I'm going to give it is pretty long too. So I just want to attach it at the bottom. I don't want to get it mixed up in the prompt area. If you're going to attach documents and you're going to do multiple documents, it's also a good idea to use the brackets because then you can say document 1, document 2, and then you don't have to give the title or anything. You can just say the first document I upload will be called bracket document 1, the second document. You know, it just helps keep everything clear for you and the AI. So here's job description. Here's my resume. I need you to help me to tailor that resume for the role. I want you to format your response. I'm telling the AI now a specific way to answer me. Make it a table. I want the first column to list every section of my CV, resume. The second column to tell me the actions I need to take to make it more relevant to the role. Consider things such as applicant information, education experience, publications, presentations, awards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then I tell it, keep your advice short and practical. Don't give me a Tolkien length response. And be encouraging. I mean, who really wants the AI to chastise you when it's comparing your resume to a job? I want it to make me feel good about myself. You can use this and change it up for anything. The key elements are, if you want really specific information from the AI, give it a role. Tell it. Clearly, if you want it to, like on this one, it's an HR expert, but I really made it more clear because I'm dealing with resumes. So I want it to be an HR experience that has experience reviewing those resumes. Give it a lot of information and then tell it how to format that response. So it's not just a bunch of narrative. You can make it tables. You can make it a lot of things. I think I'm out of water. This air is killing me here. It's so dry. Interviewing is, now this one's cool. I'm going to take my tablet back from Steve in just a second to show you something really cool. So it can help you to generate questions, analyze responses. We're going to talk to Sarah here. Sarah says, I'm going to interview with the International Society for Performance Improvement, and my position is a PI specialist. I want you to be the employer, and we're going to simulate a scenario where I get interviewed for this job. You're the hiring manager, and I'm the interviewee. You're going to ask for my response in every step of this scenario and wait until you receive my answer. After you get my answer, I want you to evaluate it. Give me some feedback about what to do better. Give me a harder question next time if I do a better job with this one. So this is definitely a chain of thought prompt. So AI says, yay, I'll be happy to help you. Practice for this interview. So hiring manager, thank you for coming in today. Let's start with an introduction. Tell me something about yourself and how your background experience. I mean, this is a typical job interview question. So at this point, the AI will stop and you'll type in your answer. And then the AI, of course, is going to analyze it and give you a response. Sarah says, my name is Sarah Jones. And she gives this long response, just like she were in an interview. Even with the obligatory, I'm excited about this opportunity to work with ISPI. I mean, I think you have to do that, right? So AI says, hey, here's the strengths for that response you just gave. Background, achievements. Here's some areas where you need to improve. You need to have better connection with the goals of ISPI. And here are some suggestions on how you can improve this response. Tailor your response, incorporate more about soft skills or leadership. Again, all of this is on your handout, so I won't insult your intelligence or bore you with reading all of it. So this is pretty specific response, and if you're going into an interview for a job, this is pretty good stuff. So now, apparently she passed that one, so the AI is going to give her a little bit more difficult question. That's impressive. Based on your description, I see you have a solid track record in training and consulting. Can you okay, so classic. Describe a time when you faced a significant challenge in organizational performance. What was the situation and how did you approach it? So I don't have another response for that one, but I want to show you this trick with ChatGPT just real quick. If you have a smart device and you use the app, which Steve, you can go back to chat with it. So on the app, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little headphones. When I select that, it changes the entire interface. I want you to help me to prepare for a job
It
interview.
sounds like you might be talking about a software or system update that alters the interface. Could you provide more details or specify?
Okay, so it was listening to me after I pushed the button. That was pretty funny.
Might have been listening to you before.
I know. Isn't Facebook listens to you?
I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating. I want you to help me to prepare for a job interview. Will you give me some common interview questions and let me respond and then give me some feedback?
That sounds like a great way to prepare for your interview. I can definitely help with that. Let's start with a common interview question. Can you tell me a little about yourself? Go ahead and respond, and then I'll provide some feedback.
I am an alien from Mars. I'm about 350 years old. My specialty is in digging Mars rocks and then transporting them back to Earth and selling them as precious gems.
It's great that you approach this with a fun and creative attitude. You'll want to focus on relevant skills and experiences that align with the job you're applying for. If you are applying for a role that involves logistics, sales, or resource management, you could adapt your Martian story to highlight transferable skills, like experience in logistics and transportation of unique goods, expertise in identifying and capitalizing on market opportunities for rare products, long-term planning and sustainability in resource management. Would you like to try answering another typical interview question, perhaps with a focus more grounded in real-world professional experiences?
All right, there you go. So even though that was pretty hilarious and the AI just politely in a Southern manner told me what to do with my response, I mean, it's pretty good. If you were going to engage in an interview prep or anything where you really wanted to have a conversation, I've used it just to talk when I need to truly brainstorm and I don't want it to be so stiff like I'm typing. I'll sit, talk to my computer. Really weird because it responds back to me. You know, if somebody didn't know that that's what you were doing, they would think, oh, that you're talking to yourself. You know, anyway, that's something that's really valuable. I know ChatGPT does it. Right now, they're the only one that has the interface that completely changes so that it's a conversation, not just you giving some text and it typing it in for you. 4.0. But I did use that when it was still the 3.5 free version. So it is available for free or with the paid. I think all of them are about $19 a month or $20 a month if you want to get the paid version. Okay, so let's move on. What's next? This one's pretty long. Let's skip this one because you've got it, and I just gave you a Martian example that's going to be, I mean, that's primo. So this is your bonus example. All right, this one is really cool. This is a real world job. I do have the link for the job ad if you would like to apply for it. I do. And I will be happy to share that with you. Walt Disney World in Orlando is hiring an operations training design development manager. If you're PI or ISD, this is a job that definitely would be right up your alley. I even think I might apply for it. So I've taken that prompt that we just talked about. I put my information in it. You can see where I used the specifics here because I'm uploading documents. So I named it, the first upload is Disney job description, which is the job description. Second, resume, which is resume. I put in all the information. I just copied and pasted the job description into a Word document so that I could upload it. And then, of course, uploaded my resume as a Word document. You could do a PDF as well. It'll work with that. So HR, know what a resume stands out, same type of prompt that we just did. I had to cut and paste it because I can't switch off the computer. Otherwise, I was going to do it that way and just show it to you. But so it says, here is a table. I know you probably can't read it in the back, but again, it's on your handout. Include a professional title that aligns with the job, such as instructional design, training, development specialist. So the information that I have on my resume is the same thing, but it's not the same words. So it's telling me to align that with those words. My professional summary, it wants me to emphasize my experience with strategic program development and a few other things. Highlight my doctorate and tie it in with the role a little better. Tailor the descriptions of my professional experience to align with the stakeholders who are going to be reviewing this at Disney. In other words, working in academia or with military government contractors, that language does not equate to Walt Disney World. You need to work on it. Pretty much a duh question. Skills, stress your project management, instructional design, communication, engagement, stakeholder engagement skills. And then include certifications or training relevant to Disney's environment. Well, okay. So then it says, I don't have to be a cartoonist. Steve, you would be great for this job, by the way. Instructional design or project management are really what they're looking for. And it continues, professional affiliations, publications, awards, volunteering, hobbies, and interests. And ensure my resume clearly communicates my background, skills, and interests, not only align, but how they'll contribute to the success of Disney's operation training team. That's a lot of information. And really, I gave it a job description, my resume, and a paragraph long prompt. I could go back and work with this to really get to dig more out of it. If I were working with it right now, I might go in and say, oh, this is great information. I want you to help me to craft my professional summary. What are some suggestions? How could I translate some of the language that's in my resume to better fit what the language that's in the job description? And it does a pretty good job at doing that for you. So then I asked, based on the job description in my resume, am I a good fit for this position? It's hard to know that. That's something that's really hard for me, especially when the job seems like it's the same as what you're doing or the background that you have, but it's just the language is so much different that, I don't want to embarrass myself by applying for a job and getting that email that says, we're sorry, we have chosen someone else. Try again, play the next time. Then I want it to share the rationale for its response, where I need to improve, and some suggestions on how to do that. Yeah, this one's really long. But it gives me those strengths and alignments. It says that my instructional design and project management, my extensive experience aligns very well with the role. My history of strategic and innovative solutions match what they're looking for. My ability to engage stakeholders and communications, those are an additional strengths, as well as my education. Well, it better, because it took a lot to get the education, right? Here's how you need to improve. Specific tools and technologies. So it brings up something that was really interesting. It says, why don't you mention that you use Articulate Storyline? Well, I do. I use that in my job all the time. I'm pretty advanced with Storyline. Forgot to put it on my resume. Oversight. Demonstrate business impact. Resume is great, but you're not really showing the company how you produce results and that those results are bottom line return on investment results. And show that you have experience with diverse learning environments. So you need to put that in there. Have you worked with virtual, instructor-led, in person? Well, yeah, but I didn't put it on there. So this is some really good information. Here's how you can improve it. Well, consider obtaining certifications in popular instructional design software. Back to the Articulate Storyline thing. Okay, we can fix that. Quantify your achievements. Go back in there and put some numbers down. State some specific projects, some ways that you really were a valuable member of that team and would be a valuable member of the Disney team. Highlight compliance and regulatory knowledge, because that was part of the job description. They needed somebody that can manage that, and talk a little bit more about your executive communication skills. Overall, your background is well suited for this position, and with a few strategic enhancements to your resume, maybe a little upskilling, you would be an even stronger candidate. Man, that's gold right there. That's worth the price of admission to this whole workshop, right?
How do you know what the scale is as far as like well-suited? Where does that fall on the scale of you're the person that's going to select for this position, or you're well-suited but not really?
So that would come in with your prompt. That's why giving it a role would be it's why it's so important to give it a role. So if I were doing this for more than just an example, say I want to go home and I'm excited now, I'm going to apply for this job. I'm going to go in and I'm going to tailor that and say, okay, you're an HR specialist and you've worked with Walt Disney World in the past, or you currently work with Walt Disney World. You've interviewed people for similar positions in learning and development. I mean, you can really clearly express it. And if you feel like it would be more beneficial, go in online and find a few examples, possibly, of maybe not just that job description, but other job descriptions to see how what their requirements are, and just to give it a better example of what Disney looks for in their applicants. I mean, as with everything, you're going to double check it because the AIs can make mistakes. I mean, they thought that I was kidding around when I said I was a Martian. I mean, I was being for real. But yeah, and that's a good point, because you've got to always make sure that you're not just taking it and running with it. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, basically just with this generic one, it means that I'm well suited and specifically in those areas, and am suited in these areas, but if I can address these specific things for improvement, then it will help me. I should have brought and given you the job description itself. I think that would have helped, because then you would have been able to look at it, which I don't have it. So I'll make sure that that gets in with the materials, though, so that you can look at it. I apologize. Next, if I do this one again, I'll make sure that I remember to bring a job description. Any other questions about this before we jump over? Okay. Oh, we're on doing well.
I think we're.
All right. So how can you? Was I supposed to go? Oh, I thought I had an hour.
You're rocking along. You're doing great, but we're going like.
It's not like I didn't do this yesterday and know that I didn't have an hour. All right. So what can you do? Let's just identify. Hopefully we've identified how AI can enhance your career. Play around with it. Don't be afraid that you're going to break the internet if you play with AI. You're not. Play around with it. Get to know it. Figure out which platform works best for you, what ways it works best for you. It will continue to learn about you. You can even teach it about you by giving it examples of some of your writing, some of the other things. Try to come up with a plan. You know, if you're really interested in doing exploring ways that can help with your job search, just say, hey, I'm going to spend 15 minutes today, and I'm going to get working with AI to try to get better at this. Use the tools that are available to you, and they continue to improve, and they continue to develop, and they continue to grow. So just use them. They're right there for you. It's just like a calculator. You know, as long as you remember it's a resource and not a replacement, it's going to be beneficial for you. And then, of course, always stay informed. You can upskill just a few places and resources. I'm not going to go through them all because I'm over time. And same thing with takeaways. I'll just let you go through and read that for yourself because I know Ms. Sue has a question. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
To look online and play and see what works for you. There's a website